Okay, Oak Rovers, this is a video that will help us for tomorrow's lesson. And tomorrow's lesson is going to be covering sections 1.2.1, 1.2.2, and 1.2.3 in algebra connections. We're going to be solving problems with guess and check. Last year you've already done this a little bit. Well, last year you did this a little bit with the 5D process. And this is just kind of a reminder to reacquaint ourselves with the guess and check tables so we can do more complex, we're able to set up more complex problems, not by necessarily using the guess and check table, but just the ideas behind the guess and check table. Today's lesson, or the lesson objectives, our students will solve complex problems using a problem-solving strategy called guess and check. Students will analyze multiple strategies for organizing their guesses and will be introduced to a guess and check table. I'm going to show us number 50 in the book on chapter 1. It's called Bullseye. And here's how the problem is stated. It says Jamie was throwing darts at a target. When his dart landed on the center of the target, which is a bullseye, he earned 7 points. However, when his dart landed outside the ring, he earned 2 points. After 50 throws, his friend reported his score to be 160 points. Jamie wanted to know how many bullseyes he had hit, but his friend did not know. How many bullseyes did Jamie hit? So today we're going to be doing a series of problems that are kind of like this. They're all guess and check problems. And last year we used the 5D process. I'm not going to do quite the same thing this year as the 5D process. It's a little bit refined from that. But when I make a guess and check table, the first thing I have to do is kind of define the variables. And I've done that here on these screens. I've made a table, and if I click on the first one, the first variable is how many bullseyes I have. The next one I have down is how many were not bullseyes. Then the next two columns are going to be kind of where I showed my work for these problems. Now the bullseyes, I get 7 points for each one. So in this column it's going to be bullseyes times 7. And that's going to be the total points that the bullseyes got us. The next column is going to be not bullseyes times 2. Because every time we don't hit a bullseye, we get 2 points. This is kind of the work. This is the first two columns where I define the variables. The next two are kind of where I do my work. The third column is going to be finding my answer for my work. And I have that as total points. And then the last column, we're going to check our answer. So let's see how this works. So the way I would do this normally, I have 50 throws. So I have to have some that are bullseyes and some that are not bullseyes. So what I did in my first guess, I just said, let's say I have 25 bullseyes and if I have 25 bullseyes, that would mean I have 25 that are not bullseyes. So if I have 25 that are bullseyes and 25 that are not bullseyes, I'm going to take the bullseyes, which is 25 times 7, or 175, and the not bullseyes, which is 25 times 2, or 50, and add them together, and I get 225 points. Now, Jamie had 160 points total, so my check, when I check it, I'm too high. I needed to be at 160 and I'm at 225. So I'm way too high. So to get a lower score, I have to decrease the number of bullseyes. So I picked a number about 15 bullseyes. Well, if I had 15 bullseyes, that would mean I'd have 35 that were not bullseyes. Well, 15 times 7, that's going to be 105. And 35 times 2 is 70. So if I add the 105 plus 70, I get a total of 175 points now. And I'm still too high. So I'm going to decrease the number of bullseyes one more time. So in this case, I'm going to pick 10. Well, if I had 10 bullseyes, that would mean I'd have 40 that were not bullseyes. 10 times 7 is 70. 40 times 2, because the non-bullseyes get 2 points each, are 80. When I add those together, 80 and 70 are 150, and now I'm too low. So I'm going to try one more guess. Now, 160 is the number of points that Jamie earned, and 150 is a little bit closer than 175. So I'm going to pick something closer to 10 than 15. So I'll pick 12. So we'll say 12 bullseyes, and if I had 12 bullseyes, 50 minus 12 is 38 non-bullseyes. And 12 times 7 is going to be 70 plus 14 is 84. And 38 times 2 will be 76. Now if I add up 84 and 76, I get 160, which means yay, I got the right answer. So when I did this time, I went through a guess and check table. I made educated guesses based on my previous guesses, and I found out my answer was going to be 12 bullseyes and 38 that were not bullseyes. And this is an example of a guess and check table. Now, when you do your work today, you might not have the exact tables that I would have, or maybe your friend would have. I don't know if there's one exact answer for the columns, or the number of headings, or the variables. But I do need you to show your work, because even though we might do it a little bit differently, I need you to show your work so somebody else can follow your thinking. If you're able to organize your work so we can understand your thinking, then your work is done well. But if I can't follow your thinking, then you won't get credit for it. So make sure when you do your work today, you show your work so we can understand your thinking. Thanks.